Hello friends, and welcome to a new video. Oh my god, it's happened. I'm Rockley Smile, and I have something to talk about. The Switch 2 has come out. You've probably heard about it, or maybe you own one, or maybe you know someone who owns one. Or maybe you're one of the people in Staten Island, New York, who happened to buy a Switch 2 and had an unfortunate experience. Well, Wario64 is on the case, and they're here to completely miss the mark in every possible regard. And I want to tell you about why that is the case. So, they have reported on, apparently one GameStop store used a stapler to attach receipts to Switch 2 boxes, and the stapler ruined the screen. Another person commented their unit and others were affected at the same store. Now, I've worked at GameStop for nearly a decade. This is now going back into the mid to late 2000s, so it's a bit of a different era, sure, but I'm very well acquainted with how GameStop works. I was a member of management there, so I was sort of in the know when it comes to the sort of the loop about how information gets passed around. And the second I saw this story, I was like, somebody is going to take the blame for something corporate did in one way or another. And I was saying this on my Discord in real time as the story was coming out, and it ended up I was completely right. So I wanted to talk about what happened here, because everybody seems to be getting this wrong and blaming the entirely wrong people. So yes, it's true. Someone did apparently staple a receipt to a box of the Switch 2. That is unfortunate. It has damaged some screens, as you can see in these screenshots here. You know, oh no, it's terrible. No, I mean, it sucks. Obviously, if you bought this thing and you're like, hey, I just want my new console, and now it's got a damaged screen, that sucks. Obviously, nobody's going to debate that. And pretty much 100% guarantee you that these people have already had this problem resolved. There was an update to this story that explained more, and it turned out that they ended up getting, you know, new consoles from another store shipped over to them, as is often the case. So what actually happened here? Well, why wouldn't you use tape would be the first question. There's an answer to that. Because corporate didn't fix the AC unit, according to the manager of that GameStop. And the tape wasn't sticking. So they went to the next best thing they could think of, which is to staple the box. And this is a brand new console. I'm guessing, this is a speculatory statement, I'm guessing nobody at the store has probably even opened one yet to know that inside of this box is literally a screen on the other end of that cardboard. As I said, I worked at a GameStop. I dealt with thousands of consoles. I've unwrapped and seen how they're all packaged. I've seen every process along with the shipping of them. This is uncommon, what happened here. So uncommon, in fact, that I can't think of a single example of another game, console, handheld, you know, home console, I can't think of any examples of packing going like this. It simply doesn't happen. There's always a cardboard shell. There's always documentation on top of the console. There's always packing wrap, like a sleeve of some kind. All sorts of different things between the outside cardboard shell and a fragile, you know, screen on the other side. And I think it's frankly bizarre that they would do this. I'm not saying this exactly to try to excuse GameStop for this. It is an odd choice, but again, as they said that the AC wasn't fixed, I get how this happens in the chaos of the moment. You end up with a whole bunch of people in the store, very stressed out, lots of stuff needs to happen in a very short period of time. Somebody makes a call, and in this case, it was a manager that was on, and she seemed very apologetic about it. And they just went with this methodology for that moment, not knowing there would be ill effects. And obviously it's going to be a problem. As I said, the people that got these home opened them up and found their screens were damaged. They obviously went back to the GameStop seeking recompense, and so they will get new consoles as a result. And the lady that was talking, the manager, said that she probably is going to get fired over this. And it's a really interesting cross-section of corporate confusion, right? Because on one hand, you've got Nintendo packing a system in an unprecedented way, where you wouldn't really expect a staple to be able to do that kind of damage, we're kind of looking past the point that, like, you probably shouldn't have stapled it. I wouldn't have done that myself. But again, I'm willing to say, like, people make mistakes. It's unfortunate. But I think we have to, like, keep humanity in check here, right? Like, it's a two-way street. It sucks the people buying the consoles had a rough experience. It also sucks that somebody might lose their job over a really kind of odd mistake. And because, so, like, corporate at GameStop is not going to fix the AC, so they had to take this stupid measure. And then corporate's probably also going to fire her as a result of this, because she probably lost them, you know, a couple $1,000s. I don't know how many systems were affected, but if it's one store, but we'll talk about that in a second. And then Nintendo packed them so weirdly that no one would have expected that to be a thing. But that leads me to a bigger point about Wario64 making a story. Wario64, by the way, this account has 1.2 million followers, decided to make a story of this one employee at a single GameStop to the best of their knowledge. They decided that is worth an international dogpile on this person and store, which I find, frankly, a bit insane and kind of bullying. I don't think they seem to understand the reach and the, like, psychological detrimental issues that can cause. Imagine you got off of work and you're like, oh my god, there's like 100,000 people talking shit about me now because I followed the instructions of my manager at work. That's horrible. Why is that necessary? That's not necessary. You don't need to do that. And so, in another way, it's also completely missing the point, because this isn't a problem about this individual person at this individual GameStop. They missed the headline, which is Nintendo's packed these systems terribly. And there are going to be broken screens everywhere now. It's not about the staple. It's about all of the systems that are going to be stacked up in inventory, fallen over in shipping, fallen over while they're being transported in other ways, stuff falling on top of them. There's clearly no padding on top of these screens, and there's no way of knowing you've got a broken screen until you open it. That seems like a much better and more effective use of your platform than to start a freaking witch hunt over someone making a mistake because their manager is angry or caused a situation that you don't agree with. And you can tell it's not just me reaching too far here. Like, if you go back to the replies here, you'll find a whole lot of people, in fact, I'd say the majority of people here, who simply are blaming the employee and completely missed what the bigger picture is here. Smartest GameStop employee. The way that I would demand a replacement immediately. All those hours waited in line for this to happen. I don't even know if they waited in line. It may have just been, you know, you get your call. That's how we did it, at least when there were new systems, when we did the Wii launch. We had hundreds and hundreds of pre-orders that went back, you know, multiple months out. And so we would just call in, you know, the 4 or 8 people as we got sets in from shipment. Oh, Staten Island, what a big mistake. Why would they package it with a screen having no protection? Weird. See, Rye Guy gets it. That's like one of very rare acknowledgments that this is a bigger problem than this individual person. And it so speaks of the bigger problem that this whole industry seems to have, which is to always blame, like, the most individual person involved for what is a widespread, systemic, potential corporate issue. You know, don't go after Nintendo. Go after the individual employee at GameStop. As if we have no critical thinking. As if we can't imagine the bigger picture here. And several people here have noted that they were surprised when they opened their Switch box and found that this is how it was. Why would you even try to staple it with no backplate to bend the staple teeth inwards or outwards? It's just going to fall out anyway. Yeah, I mean, that is a fair point, but, like, not the point to make. I'd be pissed. I mean, I would too. Yeah, I think anybody would be pissed to find they've got a damaged system. But how many people are going to be pissed finding now that they've got a damaged system as a result of things other than a staple, because there's gonna be lots. And, okay, then is that how they're getting protection plan sales? It's a very cheeky joke because we sold gameplay agreements, essentially trying to basically sell extra warranties. But obviously, if you bought something directly from GameStop and it was immediately broken the moment you open it, you don't need to buy an extra warranty than the one that is given. GameStop covers them for a period of time. You could buy an extended one, and then Nintendo would also cover it for a period of time. And in this short amount of time, you know, the minute you get it home, you wouldn't have to deal with Nintendo. You just bring it back to GameStop. Obviously, getting the warranty fulfilled when there are such short supplies is going to be a thing. But you can do store-to-store transfers. The district managers know there is a certain proportion of people that are going to have a problem. They have to have stock built in for this cause. So, you know, it's not like it can go forever, but there is at least some allotment for that. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen at GameStop. Yeah, no, they're well aware of this. Design flaw, honestly. This is a silly decision by Nintendo. There you go. Damn, that effing sucks. Who is the idiot that thought this was a good idea? Even worse, the boxes are that thing with no extra layer to protect the screen. Yeah, the employee who stapled the boxes. The employee who stapled the boxes shouldn't be in any hot water here. It should be the manager. But I think, honestly, it shouldn't be anyone. I know how this is going to end up working is they'll probably fire the manager. And unfortunately, they'll just kind of say, well, it's what we had to do. GameStop is like the McDonald's of the gaming world. Lower minimum wage. Fight for $25 an hour. See, so people are taking this as an example to go, actually, we should treat workers worse because of this highly specific individual story that a Twitter user with 1.2 million followers decided to make a story that isn't a story. And it's so frustrating because I see this is just one example of so many aspects of this happening. This is why in our district we always remind people to staple to the bag. We used to have these little paper pamphlets we would staple the receipts into. I guess they don't do that anymore. I don't know why you're stapling stuff onto the package in any form or fashion. The bag or the box. I'd rather it just be in its own little, you know, fold-over thing. And that is why they work at GameStop. Yeah, so the thing is, working at GameStop is, it has nothing to do with your abilities or intelligence. Some people just want to work at GameStop. And that's okay. I had largely pretty good experiences at GameStop, even though I also had some bad experiences. And I can talk about that at length, but this is not necessarily the video for that. And I have already talked about it at great length. There's all sorts of people working there. I happened to do it to get through college, and I thought for a while that I was going to end up working there for a much longer period of time. To the unemployed people with $500 to blow on a Switch 2 that camped out in line for 9 hours today just to immediately list on offer up to $900, every single one of you are effing losers. Yeah, the scalpers are actually losers. That's true. Not where I expected to find this sentiment, but, you know. That's another matter now. The scalpers are going to probably end up with some proportion of broken screens that they pass on to their scalpees. And they're not going to know what to do with that. And it's obviously going to fall on the scalpees. I don't think that's a term, but I've decided it is. They're going to end up getting screwed again. They're going to overpay for a thing, then end up with a broken screen and have no way of dealing with it. Or I guess they'll try and go to Nintendo. Time to sell my GME, their GameStop stock. Wait, GameStop still has open stores. That's wild. I don't think GameStop's going to be around that much longer, I have to say. I thought they wouldn't last through the 2010s. I'm kind of surprised they made it in any form or fashion through COVID. Granted, COVID is still going. But, yeah, they're probably not long for this world for the rest of the 2020s. I would be surprised if they make it to 2030. Why on earth would you staple the receipt when you're handing it to the customer is free and won't risk damaging anything? Yeah, it's, the reason that can happen sometimes is because you're staging orders. I don't know specifically what happened in this store, but I've had situations where you've got a whole bunch of, basically orders set up to go out, And I don't know if you ever worked at like a McDonald's drive-thru or something, right? Where you've got like 4 things ready to go. And you associate an account with an order, and so you put the receipt with that product. And so it's to basically make sure everything is nice and tidy. But they might have also just been doing it as a matter of keeping things tidy when they hand the thing over, so it doesn't just, like, you know, fall away and land on the floor and lose the receipt. Because that is a real problem. If you buy something that expensive and the receipt just happens to, like, fall out of the bag, you might have a real hard time. Although you should also be able to track it by phone number through the serial number, depending on if they associated that or not. An impressive level of incompetence from the GameStop staff here has 216 faves. Nah, I don't think that's the right take, Michael. Who TF uses a stapler in GameStop? In 2025, is GameStop living like it's 1999? You might be surprised to find out, Daniel, Japan still uses fax machines in 2025. I know, it's wild. They're technologically on the edge in some regards, and in other regards, they're still living in the 80s. But, you know, swings and roundabouts, we all have a different way of living. I used a stapler all the time at GameStop, but again, that was in the 2000, mid-2000s, like 2010. How did anyone think stapling anything to the box was a good idea? The vast majority of the time, it wouldn't have hurt anything other than the cosmetics of the box, which, again, I don't like. I wouldn't have done that myself. As a matter of my own dedication to aesthetics, it kind of killed me a little bit inside every time we had to put spine labels on every single one of the games, that some of which were quite rare, and were basically defacing, you know, the cases of them, the cases, or indeed the inserts inside of the cases. Because we did actually get instructed at one point to put the stickers on the inside of the plastic instead of the outside, because they would fall off and go all over the floor. If you put them on the inside, the outer layer keeps them in. But then you've wrecked the spine, so. Oh, good, a slur? Yeah, I didn't really want that in there. Honestly deserved for being an in-toddler. It's a really strange take, too, just, like, completely missing the point. GameStop employees aren't known for their brains. They will literally hire the dumbest nerds at GameStop, and this is proof. I completely disagree with this stuff. There's nothing, again, to do with your brains. Like, there's tons of freaking smart people work at GameStop. The problem is that these people commenting online have no idea about how the structure of this all goes. Even something as simple as a decision like stapling a receipt to a box has a sort of hierarchy to it. A random employee at the lowest level isn't going to make that procedural decision on the fly. They're just not going to do it. It's at the least going to be a key holder, so it's going to be like 2 levels up. Or it's going to be an assistant manager, or district manager, and they're going to tell you to do that as a memo via an email. Or in this case, I think it was done on the fly because they said the tape wasn't sticking, so they had to do something. Or at least that's how they saw it. You gotta fight every employee. Bunch of idiots should get fired. How dumbass they are. Yeah, no, there's occasionally people who get it. Nintendo is really the biggest offender here, in my opinion. Same happened to me, GameStop in Staten Island. Yeah, so a bunch of people had this happen. I had not seen this picture before, so they were, like, putting security tags, like, harpooned through packs of Pokemon cards? That's nuts. I actually have to say, this looks to me, and I don't know anything about this picture, but this looks to me of, like, some employees wanted to go viral and decided, let's buy a bunch of packs of Pokemon cards and stab them and put this picture up so it looks like employees did it. I don't know, this just something seems like way too stupid for this to be possible. But I don't know how you would ever debunk this. It's just a thing that exists, so. Yeah, it's really weird. Nobody would think to ever just jam a security tag through a product like that. I don't know. Or somebody who was like high or something. I don't know, it's bizarre. Is it so hard for these guys to use tape? Yeah, apparently it was too hot for the tape to stick. What happened to tape? Oh, it was there. It was just too hot. So, like, you also have to understand, it's miserable working in a store that's too hot. it's really difficult to keep all that crap together, and then on top of it, like, their actual place of business isn't being maintained properly, and that's not on the managers. They can do as much as they can do, but they still need funding approval. I mean, I don't know if it was a mall store or an independent, you know, a separate store or what, but you can't just make those decisions and have things sorted out. They've got to go through the DM or even higher, depending. Classic game slop moment. Yeah. Well, you get the idea anyway. Just everyone missed the point. Tons of blaming the wrong people. This is what I was talking about with the spine labels. Yeah, they made us put a sticker on the front and the top right and the bottom right to cover the barcode, and then another third one on the spine. And I actually have done this exact game that way. I actually owned a copy of Chibi Robo as well, and I became an expert at trying to remove these stickers as carefully as possible. But, you know, it sucks. For preservation, I never liked doing this. You know, probably thousands and thousands of games that had, like, depreciated in value as a result of passing through our store. So anyway, I guess I have a little bit of a solidarity with GameStop, even if I don't love GameStop as a company. I do sympathize with the people at ground level dealing with the public and kind of getting pressure from every side. You know, corporate is mad that you did a thing a certain way. The public's mad. Some random Twitter account with 1.2 million followers is mad. And, like, you didn't even personally affect them. It's more Nintendo that they should be mad at. And so they take it from all sides, and they just kind of got to carry on and get their job done. It's a very thankless job, and you don't make a lot of money, and you kind of just have to deal with a lot of crap all the time. But, you know, if you love games, they're happy to exploit that at GameStop. I mean, and they will use you until you can't take it anymore, and then they will either fire you or you will quit. I'd say people don't tend to last super long at GameStop. They tend to roll through a lot of seasonal employees very quickly as well. And that tends to be why maybe some of this reputation has been earned, that GameStop is not known for having a fantastic standard. I came from the EB Electronics Boutique background that eventually became an EB Games, and then we converted to a GameStop after many years. So I think the management under EB was much better. GameStop has a much kind of looser... They're, like, more hands-off, but they're also more quick to blame you if something goes wrong. And less likely to give you the support you need, although they did sometimes help us out, too. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but I have lots of stories. I've been in it. I've done, you know, Black Fridays. I've done game launches, midnight openings, console releases. I've dealt with the infrastructure and the handling of new consoles coming in, the shipping of all sorts of things. So, like, I've seen a lot of this. It's kind of the same sentiment now that it was then, that it's like everything is GameStop's fault. Because that's where rubber meets the road. That's where you make contact with another human being. You know, Nintendo, you're not talking to anybody there. So, you know, those people will get their new Switches. They'll get on with their day. And I hope that the GameStop manager is okay. I mean, this all sucks for them. Again, I really sympathize that this is so much, like, unnecessary dragging online. But we deserve $25 an hour, Lamau. Yeah, imagine that, deserving a living wage to do a job that is thankless and difficult. I know you don't see it that way. Try working there for 5 years and tell me how you feel about it then. Absolutely, these people deserve $25 an hour. When I worked there, I was making 8 and change for the beginning of it. When I got promoted a bunch, I was making 12 and change. Granted, that was in the late 2000s, but that's still not great money. I'm guessing if I was to be still working there now, I might be making like $16 or $17, which is not enough. It's not enough. So yes, absolutely they should make $25 an hour, and anybody that is fighting them can shut up. Right, so that's what I have to say about that. Stop missing the story and start actually pointing fingers at the right people, please. Gamers, You out there, you gamers. It's probably not you specifically, but you probably know somebody who would jump to these conclusions. So, enjoy your nuance, enjoy your day, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.